Disclaimer: this content is intended for a mature audience only. Viewer discretion is advised. It was past midnight. The rain had softened to a hush against the windows, like a private conversation no one else was meant to hear. The world outside their small apartment felt far away, distant and dim, as if all that mattered now was the space between two people and the quiet electricity moving in that space. She stood near the bed, the lamplight brushing her shoulders in a soft amber glow. The silence between them wasn't awkward, it was full. Full of things not said, things understood. He approached slowly, like he didn't want to startle whatever was delicate in the air between them. His shirt hung open, forgotten, his face calm but searching. She met his eyes, steady, but her breath had already changed. They had been married for over a year, but this night felt different. Not new exactly, more like remembered. Like something they once had that was finding its way back home. She laid down first, not out of submission but invitation. He joined her without rushing, his body warm and close. The mattress dipped beneath them, and she felt the gravity of him, real, quiet, present. When he leaned over, covering her with his body, she whispered without looking at him, "Make it finish faster." But her voice cracked halfway through. Not from anger. From something else, vulnerability, maybe. Or a tiredness only love could answer. He paused. Brushed her hair back behind her ear with one hand, the other gently braced beside her. "No," he said softly, a small smile in his voice. "Not tonight." He moved slowly, not to tease, but to stay. To mean it. Inside, she didn't expect the tears. They didn't fall, but they welled. This wasn't just about touch. This was about being seen, without needing to be anything other than herself. It scared her a little, how much she needed that. And just as her breathing changed again, just as her heart rose to meet his rhythm, a knock echoed on the apartment door. They both froze. Not from fear. But something had cracked the moment open. Was it the past? Was it someone who didn't belong? Or was it something even deeper, rising up between them? The knock came again. Softer this time, like maybe whoever was there had second thoughts. He didn't move. His breath stayed close to her cheek, steady, waiting. Her eyes had widened, not in fear, but in something older. Something she hadn't touched in years, an instinct that lived in the bones. She looked toward the door, then back at him. "Do you want to check?" she whispered, her voice smaller now, like she didn't want the moment to slip too far away. He didn't answer right away. He reached down, laced his fingers with hers. That small gesture, a hand in a hand, told her more than anything words could. He wasn't ready to leave her side. And maybe, neither was she ready to be left. Still, the knock had planted something. A memory, maybe. Or a fracture. They lay like that for a while, not moving. The air in the room felt heavier now, charged not just with closeness, but with the weight of whatever unspoken history had been sitting quietly between them. He finally spoke, his voice low, careful. "Do you remember last year? That weekend in the mountains, the cabin, the cold, the fireplace that wouldn't light?" She let out a small laugh, almost surprised by it. "You tried for an hour. And I kept pretending I wasn't freezing. You were shivering like a leaf. I was trying to be tough." He smiled. "I know." Their eyes met again. That memory, like so many others, hung in the silence, warm, imperfect, theirs. But under the softness was something else. She could feel it. Not quite fear. Not regret. Just a distance that had crept in slowly over time. The way small hurts and long silences build walls no one means to put up. He touched her cheek. Not out of desire, but as if to say, "I'm still here. I'm trying." And in her chest, something loosened, just a little. But the door waited. And so did whatever truth was standing behind it. Her lips parted to speak, but she didn't. Not yet. The third knock never came. Just the echo of the last one, hanging in the corners of the room like a question neither of them wanted to answer. She stayed beneath him, but her body had gone still. Not cold, just alert. Like something in her was remembering how it felt to be interrupted before she could feel safe. He shifted slightly, the mattress creaking under the movement, and looked toward the door. I should check, he said, almost to himself. But still he didn't move. She could feel the conflict in him, wanting to be present, but pulled by old patterns. The fixer. The protector. The one who never let anything go unanswered, even when it wasn't his to carry. Maybe they'll just go, she said, gently. Whoever it is. But they both knew it wasn't about the knock. Not really. He sat back, resting beside her now, propped on one elbow. She turned her face toward him. Their fingers were still laced. You haven't told me everything, she said, finally. His eyes dropped, not out of guilt, out of weariness. No. I haven't. The words sat between them like a crack in the floor. She didn't press. She knew the shape of his silence by now. It had weight. Texture. History. Last autumn, when he'd started staying late at work more often. When his phone always seemed to buzz at the wrong times. She had told herself it was nothing. She'd been tired, too. Focused on her own deadlines. They were adults. Love wasn't supposed to feel like suspicion. But it wasn't infidelity she feared. It was distance. That slow fading where two people become careful instead of close. He reached up and brushed her hair behind her ear again. A mirror of his earlier touch. But this time, she leaned into it slightly, surprising them both. I never meant to lie, he said. I just didn't know how to say it. What? I've been scared too. That quiet confession cracked something open in her. For a second, she saw not the man he tried to be, but the boy he once was. Always carrying too much. Always trying to hold it together. And in her chest, something ached with tenderness. But still, the door. Still, the questions. Still, the space between what was said and what needed saying. The silence was no longer peaceful. It pressed down between them, thick, pulsing, alive with things neither had said. He sat upright now, one leg folded beneath him, the other hanging off the side of the bed. She stayed where she was, her body still warm from where he'd covered her, but her skin suddenly felt exposed. Like all the years they'd spent trying to love each other right were now balancing on a single, fragile breath. The rain had stopped. The world outside had gone still. She finally sat up beside him, knees drawn to her chest, arms wrapped around them. What are you scared of? She asked quietly. Me? Us? Or losing the part of yourself you never gave to me? He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened, his eyes fixed on the dark window like he was hoping the reflection would speak for him. I'm scared of hurting you, he said. Of saying something that changes how you look at me. She exhaled sharply, not angry, just full. Too late, she whispered. You not saying it already has. That hit him. She felt it. The small inhale. The shift in his shoulders. But she didn't pull it back. This wasn't a night for soft lies. I've watched you disappear in pieces, she continued. Every month, a little less open. A little more quiet. I started asking less because I didn't want to seem like I didn't trust you. But the truth is, I don't know you right now. His voice cracked when he spoke. I haven't known how to need someone without feeling weak. There it was. The words hovered in the air, fragile and raw. She turned toward him, slow, eyes shining, but not from tears. From recognition. Because deep down, she knew that feeling too. The quiet desperation to hold everything together, just so no one else had to carry the weight. She reached out, touched his wrist. "You think being held makes you break," she said. "But what if that's the only way we survive this?" His throat moved, but he didn't speak. He looked at her like she was a mirror he hadn't dared to face in years. And then, suddenly, the door handle turned. The door creaked open. They both turned, breath caught, time bending around the soft metallic sound. But no one stepped inside. Only an envelope slid across the hardwood floor. Then the door closed again, quietly. Deliberately. She looked at him. He looked at her. Neither moved. For a long moment, neither of them even breathed. He stood first, slowly. Every movement heavy with hesitation, like walking through memory. He picked up the envelope. No name on the outside. Just weight, too thin for fear, too light for comfort. He didn't open it. He just held it, knuckles pale. "What is it?" she asked, voice low. His jaw clenched. "It's from her." The words hit like cold water. She didn't ask who, she already knew. The coworker. The one he never mentioned by name until she asked. The one who always seemed to text late about deadlines. The one she'd tried to trust he had no reason to hide. She stood now too, feet bare on the wooden floor, heart thudding too hard for how calm her voice stayed. "How long has she had your home address?" He swallowed. Didn't answer. That silence was its own answer. But still, she wasn't angry. Not yet. She was past that. What lived in her now wasn't fire. It was ache. A cold, steady ache that came from giving someone everything and still being an afterthought in the most fragile moment. "I never touched her," he said suddenly, defensively. "But I thought about it. When we were off." She blinked. Slowly. There it was. The second fracture. Not a betrayal of body, but a betrayal of intention. The door left unlocked. The heart that leaned even slightly in the wrong direction. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked, barely more than a whisper. He looked at her. Honest. Hollowed out. "Because when you said you didn't recognize me anymore, it made me realize I don't either." She took a step toward him. Small. Not to forgive. Not yet. But to see. "Then we start from here," she said. "But we don't lie anymore." His grip on the envelope tightened. Then, without opening it, he dropped it into the trash. The door behind them remained closed. But something deeper had just opened. The envelope sat buried beneath a coffee-stained napkin and yesterday's receipts, forgotten by the room but not by the air. He stood there for a moment longer, like dropping it cost him something invisible. Something old. She walked to the bed and sat on the edge, hands folded in her lap. The quiet between them wasn't sharp anymore, it was tired. Honest. He joined her without a word. The mattress dipped beneath him again, just like it had before. But this time, no space was left between them. "I thought wanting more meant I was ungrateful," he said. "But what I really wanted was to be seen, and I didn't know how to ask for that without sounding broken." She looked down at her hands. "We both forgot how to ask for what we needed. We just started, performing closeness instead of living in it." His hand brushed hers. Not like earlier, not cautious. Just soft. Real. "I never stopped loving you," he said. "But you stopped choosing me," she replied. Her voice didn't tremble. It didn't need to. He closed his eyes for a second, as if letting that truth settle deep inside his chest. Then he turned, fully facing her. "Then let me choose you now. All of you." Not the version I tried to protect from the messy parts. She met his gaze. And for the first time in what felt like months, her shoulders dropped. The tension, the suspicion, the second-guessing, it melted. Not gone forever, but finally given a place to rest. She leaned forward, resting her forehead gently against his. "I don't need perfect," she whispered. "I just need present. Real. Even if it's hard." Then he said something he hadn't even realized he was carrying. She called because her father died. That's what was in the envelope, a thank you note. I helped her with hospice paperwork. That's all it ever was. Her breath caught. The pain in her eyes didn't fade completely, but it shifted. Not betrayal. Grief. Grief for how easily doubt can grow in silence. She nodded slowly. And in that moment, forgiveness wasn't some grand gesture, it was the way she stayed close. The rain began again, softer this time. Like a blessing. And in the quiet, they didn't speak. They simply stayed. End of chapter 1. Morning came gently. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving the world washed and quiet. Light spilled into the room in long golden strokes, painting their bedroom in something soft and forgiving. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, the silence between them felt like peace. He was still asleep beside her, his breathing deep, one arm draped lightly over her waist. She watched the rise and fall of his chest, feeling the weight of what they had nearly lost, and what, somehow, they had held on to. She thought about the envelope. About how one unopened truth had almost undone them. But it hadn't. And maybe that's what love looks like in the real world, not sweeping gestures or grand apologies. Just two people, choosing each other over and over again, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. He stirred. Eyes half open, voice rough from sleep. "You okay?" She nodded, brushing a finger across his forehead. "Yeah. I think we're okay." There were still things to untangle, mistrust to rebuild, routines to unlearn. But something essential had shifted. A quiet truce had formed. Not the end of struggle, but the start of truth. Later, they would sit at the kitchen table in their wrinkled pajamas, fingers wrapped around mismatched mugs. She would ask about the woman again, not out of doubt but curiosity. He would answer with nothing left to hide. And they would laugh. Not because it was funny, but because they'd made it to the other side. He would reach for her hand across the table, and she would let him. And when she looked at him, not the version from their wedding photos, or the man she feared she was losing, but the flawed, tired, still trying man beside her, she would think, this is love. Messy. Unscripted. True. One memorable line, sometimes, the bravest thing we do is stay, when it's easier to run.